Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, our flexible Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives right after important news. With us today, I'm happy to have again Bernard Tourillon, Chairman and CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange on the stock symbol HPQ. For those of you who are new to the story, HPQ is planning on becoming a vertically integrated solar-grade silicon metal producer. They're doing that by developing a disruptive process for high purity and solar grade silicon metal manufacturing, with the goal eventually of manufacturing solar cells. Now, that might sound like a lot, and it might even sound like a dream for those of you who are new to the story, but more than just lip service. The company's partners on this are PyroGenesis Canada, a global leader in plasma torch technologies, and Apollon Solar, one of the world's leaders in renewable energies. In addition, the company's already announced that as of now, its results will prove that they can significantly reduce capital costs, operating costs by as much as 50%, maybe even more than that, creating cost advantages never before seen in the industry, and greatly decreasing carbon footprint, eliminating the use of toxic chemicals that are used in the current process. It's a win-win all the way around. Bernard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, George. From my undisclosed location in somewhere in Eastern Europe. No, just joking. But
well, I do want to ask you, actually, before you, since you bring it up, you're not in the office.
Yes.
Where are you? Can you tell us about where you are, what you're doing?
I'm in Europe. And I'll leave it at that. It's I had some meetings with partners to have, and that's what I'm doing right now.
And can I grill you deeper on that? Find out what kind of discussions?
Not yet. I'll wait until we finalize everything.
All right. So the press release we're talking about is this. You announced today the delivery of the HPQ Gen3 PUREVAP furnace to PyroGenesis so that they can start assembling the pilot plant. To me, okay, great press release in terms of as you planned, as you've said, you're moving the ball along. You're moving the entire process along. Fantastic. But let's talk about it. Let's be open about it. It's not like it's an exciting press release, or is it an exciting press release because of what it signifies at this stage?
Well, depending. If you're a nerd that loves the technology that we're building, yes, it's exciting, and that's what it is. If you're looking for raw excitement, it's not, but it is the foundation. All right. Our results to date are phenomenal. We've been moving this project really, really fast. I don't think people understand that in a catching up race, okay, we're going to be catching up. Well, that's our aim anyway, with some big players relatively quickly. Now, relatively quickly has different definition for other people, okay? But for us in the space that we're moving very, very fast. And it was a key thing. We needed to close the financing, okay, because that's resolved. Okay, now we have peace and quiet. We can work on the technology, and at the same time, because we had to do a lot of redesign, rework, and everything else, the pilot plant is now ready to move forward, start the assembly. That was a key phase. If you look at our history, I haven't mentioned anything about when will the pilot equipment will be operational in a long time. So the timing was good. We needed to close financing, and at the same time, that as financing is closed, we're entering the last phase of building it. And that's really the key thing. The technology has worked in the lab. We've proven it's scalable. Now we got to start producing material, so I can send materials to the guys at Apollon for them to start producing solar cells, and we can start saying, hey guys, this is what we're doing solar cells.
So hold on. So because I want to ask that question. The capacity of this plant is going to be 50 tons, and I was thinking 50 tons. That's 100,000 pounds. I figured that that production is going to go somewhere. And that's what, so you're telling me the goal of the 50 tons primarily is to get it to Apollon so they can actually start producing solar cells.
Apollon and other people, there's going to be other application. Gradually, as we advance the project, we'll get people to understand that the material we're producing in one step, in one shot, okay, is unique, has specific advantages to it that people will realize that it works, okay? For a long time, George, I've been mentioning and I've been repeating, we need scalabilities before purities. But what we've discovered is the purity we've done so far puts us in the league above everybody else.
And let's talk about that. Where are we right now? You know, how?
To be totally frank, okay?
Of course. No,
we haven't bothered really to test above 3N and above. Why is that? Is for the last year, I've been working with the guys at Apollon, and we'll get more information on this as we move forward. But we can make solar grade silicon metal, okay,
right now,
with that 3N and other steps and other work in between. But we could do it cheaper than anybody else. Those numbers we've done, we know them internally. We feel very comfortable about it. Our focus right now, and that'll become clear with time, is just to tweak our operational result to make sure that our pilot plant reaches the goal forward. Because what we've discovered, and we'll get more into detail, is any half N that we win in the purity in the first step, okay, has a tremendous down the line effect on the process. Okay? Downstream effect. So that's very, very key. Plus, there's multiple other utility that's going to come around. But right now, we produce very small quantity of it. I don't have it here, but eventually I'll show you. Just like if you were at the AGM, I would have showed you small. Now, I had them at the PDAC. I was showing you small container of the material. That's what we produce, up to 30, 40, 50 grams, or 100 grams we produce one time. Okay. But that's what the Gen 2 can do. But now we're going to be able to produce 1,000 kilograms a week of this stuff. That's more than enough material to send it to different laboratories all over the world to start producing different type of solar cells.
And I did notice you said on that note, I'm going to read it here. Mm-hmm. In your quote, you said, we're going to start seeking customers and preparing for commercialization. That's right, mm-hmm. Right out of your quote. So yeah. Even though the commercial 2,000-ton plant is still a year or two away, a couple of years mm-hmm. away, you don't have to wait for that in order to start getting customers and preparing for commercialization. You're saying that right now, you're going to start sending out some of that material.
Well, what we're going to start to do is demonstrate that we can produce solar cells, and then we're going to get it's really sort of like dream the field, build it, they will come. All right. There is a lot of skepticism in the industry that what we are doing looks too good. Now, we don't allow a lot of people to come and kick our tires. We're very specific about who we allow to kick the tires. Apollon has been one of them, okay, and others. You know, I will be honest. Right now,
am I able to ask you about the others? Are they big solar companies?
Well, no. At this stage where we are in the development, the interest that has been shown to us is mostly people that have delineated significant quartz deposits. These are very, very good, okay? And then realize that it's a shit market where you can't really make any money. So they then come and take a look at us and says, oh, what you're doing is interesting. So like usually 3/4 of the time I send it. Yeah, it's $50 a ton. It's 5 cents a kilogram.
Usually, and you're telling them, hey, I can get you up to.
Well, what I'm basically telling you is my technology can take your material and make it worth it. The problem is when I started those discussions, they get all crazy thinking their freaking property is worth a lot. I says, no, George, I got about freaking 20 of those. Like, don't bug me. But there are some that have exceptional quantities, and we say, okay, we might be interested in testing it, but we're not a charity, so pay us. So that's already a market that's showing interest, but I really haven't been very aggressively marketing it. But I've been getting approached. Right? Usually either me or Pyro will get, one approach or two approaches a month. Of course, Pyro immediately sends them to us, but we get approach.
When do you shift? When do you shift to that more aggressive, at least getting people on the radar kind of marketing, where you're saying, hey, George Solar, let's say, hey, George Solar, for HPQ, this is what we have, and you kind of blanketing.
It's gonna be coming. Okay. What we want to do, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here, is what we want to do is be able to present a business case to the investment community. Okay, that makes sense.
And it must make sense because CapEx.
It makes sense, but to be able to answer every one of those technical questions that come around everything else. And what I've discovered in the industry is sometimes when you're too early to brag about what you think you can do, it comes back to bite you. All right. But now we're in a good position.
Yeah, because you haven't been bragging to anybody. You're just letting the numbers do the talking because you got to press release these numbers. And we embellishing them because you got PyroGenesis as your partner and Apollon as your partner. So they're validating these numbers. Sounds like it's you and a couple of guys, in a lab somewhere.
George, I'm not quite sure if I mentioned it in the last interview, okay? But there was no reason for me to go out to do marketing until I've closed the financing, okay?
Good point. Yeah.
There was no urgency for me to do the financing, to do marketing until we closed the financing. And there was no rationale for me to go overly market it until I closed my financing for the pilot plant. So now when I talk to people, or when I will go out and talk to people, they know that the pilot plant is fully financed moving forward. They know that one of my partners is the Quebec government. Okay. They know my project's in Quebec. One of the biggest costs of the project is electricity. There. They know that my project is green. Okay. So all these aspects are known. But I'm not dealing with individual that take a 22, decide on the corner of a table, maybe check. I'm not a .com company. I'm not an internet company. Okay. We are an industrial process. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at the macro of our market, we have a market that is massive. All right. Just lately, California announced that every new house will need to have solar energy. Okay. So think about it for a second. Now, everybody is gaga about lithium because they're saying if there's that demand for production, they need batteries to store it. But at the same time, for the lithium market to work, it needs my market, the silicon market to work. Little known secret is for lithium batteries to really work and reach their full potential, they need a special type of silicon metal, which is extremely difficult to do. And from what we've been reading and discussing, we have the goods, or we could have the goods.
Do you have any doubt? I'm glad you said that. Do you have any doubt as to being able to transfer your success at the lab scale up to the pilot plant scale? Are you concerned about that?
Well, as my CFO would tell me, okay, I'm obligated to say I have doubts, because then that way we get R&D credit.
Okay. All right. But realistically, when you're sitting around the table with Pyro and you and Apollon, and you're discussing this,
we will get there.
Just matter of, hey, we're on the path. We're just going.
I'll use one of the terms of the engineers that Pyro uses. Okay. Is it going to be straight? No. Will we have challenges? Yes, but we will find solution.
You've had challenges up till now.
Huh? Well, we've always found solution. I don't think people realize what we've done. And I also deliberately know that, the way we're presenting our stories leads to question mark that people in the industries, and that's deliberate because I want us to have the good working. Okay. I want us to be able to work. I want us to be able to prove it. Okay. Now, what I've learned in the last year working with Apollon, I was working on the financing, is that even if by a fluke that should not happen, so I don't want anybody to say that we don't go above 3M, okay, we can still make it more economically than anybody else. If we make it 3N.5,
that's right. We're forgetting about that. This isn't solar or bust.
No.
At 3N, you've got a great business all day long.
I got a great business all day long. I was actually showing to some of the guys I was meeting the samples that we're producing, and they were looking at it and says, shit, I've never seen this out of a metallurgic plant. I've never seen this type of material out. Okay. And that's true. Actually, when it comes out of a smelters, it's reworked and they have to do things and everything about it. So it's a complex industrial process. We've been through the ringer with the Quebec government to demonstrate that our scaling up strategy works. Because as I explained, our funding, okay, is a pre-commercial funding. Okay, I can't say I need another pilot plant to do this. So we had to demonstrate that we were there. We had to demonstrate there were multiple ways of doing it. And we can take material that was only good to do ferrosilicium and make high purity silicon metal, 3N plus. And so,
That's what I love about where you're at right now, that you have that backstop. So many companies, when they're building their businesses, are X or bust. But right now, if you were forced to stop any further development right now, you could run a business.
Yes, but George, what I'm trying to tell you is if we stop development right now, I could still make solar grade silicon metal at a profit cheaper than anybody else. That's what we've discovered. I don't think that's sunk in yet.
No, I'm just at a process. Right now, if you have to stop, you could still produce solar grade silicon metal at a great price. And before you learn, so you're just shooting for the stars now.
Exactly. Well, no, what happens is it's a business question, okay? I can make my first commercial plant, all right, that can generate revenues, profit, advance the project, okay? And use the knowledge from that to keep improving the processes. So when my second plant is, I'll be even better. When my third plant is, it'll be perfect, okay? Or I can decide to spend millions of dollars in R&D to shoot to do the perfect plant at the beginning. Now, I've looked at the data and everything else. I says, wait a minute. We could do it now.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Let's be honest. There's one impurity tweaking that we're working on, and that's what I'm here for in discussing and going these things down. But we didn't focus on that impurity until now.
Is that because that became a problem now?
No, it's always been known to be a issue, impurity. Okay, it's always been known. It is just that we are doing something nobody else does. So we do remove it. Okay, do we remove it enough? Can we get it down to solar, or do we need something else? But there are processes that work. Okay. To do it. And if you add them to our process, because what we do at the beginning has a significant impact on the end. So these are things we have to move forward, but this is being done in parallel as we are building the pilot plant and everything else, because everything will become a loop that works in together. Okay. So the moment we start producing significant quantities, to be totally honest, I don't even need the freaking 1,000 kilogram a week to start doing solar cells. Okay, we could probably, what do we need? 40 kilogram, just peanuts. Okay, 40 kilograms from the machine that can do 1,000. And we can start producing solar cell, testing it, showing it, going to solar cells, saying that we exist, saying that we have this process. This is where it is. But I've been also going through a learning curve of the solar industry, and I learned something very fascinating right now. I actually thought that we had to go the monocrystalline solar cells. And what the guys at the industry is telling me, no, there's a curve. Whenever there is a technology improvement that increases the efficiency of a solar cells, it's first being used in the monocrystalline because it's the highest margin. Then it goes to multicrystalline, and then multicrystalline goes and take back to the biggest part of the market because it's the cheapest and it's 80% of the market. So it looks very promising. We're moving forward on this. And there's a massive world that doesn't know we exist. The reality is there's a small community that knew we exist.
You talking about the investment world? Or you talking
I'm talking the investment, the industrial world, and everything else.
Well, you're not a marijuana stock right now, so that's, unfortunately, that works against you.
Yeah, I know. But I'm in solar. I'm in renewable energy. With the summer we had today, okay, people are demanding renewable solutions that are green. So we're well positioned. So whenever the next crazy fad comes in, we will be at the forefront of it.
And it's great that you don't have to worry about anything, because I can see just by what you're saying, A, you've got what you have right now is enough to run a great business right now. That's fantastic. That's fantastic for your shareholders. And what I love the fact that you've got the financing done. Your finance locked in. This financing takes
and sometimes there are so many discussion trends that don't make any sense. Some people are telling us, oh, you have such a big float of 325 million shares fully diluted. Newsflash to people, if we go to 325 million shares with the exercise price, we get another $27 million into the coffer. So if you talk fully diluted, add $27 million to our cash position. So, in 222, we have a good market cap. We have good strategic investors. Pyro, the Quebec government. Management has a significant position. I'd like to remind people that in the last year, I took $120,000 worth of stock at 7 cents. Wasn't in the market, but it was there. So basically, I sort of almost ended up paying my own salary.
Yeah, but you're not going to burn no one's going to burn $120,000 if you don't believe what you're doing.
No. And don't forget, we're getting close to spinning up the freaking gold asset.
I'm not going to talk about that right now, but you're right.
I'm about we're going to be big shareholders. HPQ is going to be a big shareholder of the gold company. So I'm going to put pressure on Patrick to get that share price above. So it's going to be an asset that's going to be worth something.
So what's next? What's next steps now for HPQ? Because you got the furnace delivered, and that's going to take a while to assemble. So are you on the solar side going to a bit of a quiet period here?
No, we still have the Gen 2. That's what people don't realize. We still have the Gen 2.
Is it Gen 2 still operating, or are you just working on tweaking things?
No, right now we're doing a few operational tests to finishing off some of the R&D work that we need to last data point to know where we're going. At the same time, I might be getting contracts from people to test their material, but it's not something that's material to your analysis. It's fun, but that's all what it is.
Well, but then again, if you do, I'm presuming you think you might, that's always great because it shows that there are a lot of people are willing to pay for you to test their material, right?
Yeah, it's a nice tool, but then you get into being surprised why you're surprised as this is not this is not working the way we thought it is, but this should be working the way it is. It's not our process, it's just the quartz. We realize that every quartz is a different way of operating, and we're figuring out all these things. Well, this is something we'll be looking at.
If I've got a massive quartz deposit, massive, I'm going to pay you what's necessary within reason to, even if you got to tweak, because I want to take the value of my quartz, $60.
Yeah, the problem becomes because I don't yet have my pilot plan. Okay. In the discussion, they started believing that I need them more than they need me. So often that's why I don't really push it forward. And as I advance my process forward, it'll be very clear that they need me. I've had people approach me and says, "Oh, well, we have the money to build the first plant, $50 million, no issue." And then they come back and says, "But we want worldwide exclusivity." He says, "Well, fuck, idiot, I've paid the money for it. I'm going to give it to you. And I wait a year and a half. Like, fuck, you're going to have to pay me 20 times just for get nothing."
Again, those are big numbers.
I'm serious. I had guys throw these numbers at me, and they're the type of guys that took freaking ship material from one end of the world and delivered it to me the other end of the world in 5 days. But still, if I don't have a deal that's to my advantage.
We'll look for news on that. I mean, we'll look for news on that. That'll be interesting to see when you have more details for us. You can't really tell us much right now because you got to put a press release about something like that.
Yeah, it's just to demonstrate at this moment, okay, interest in our process comes from people with quartz deposit. And that's the only reason why I mentioned this. Okay. As we get the pilot plant more operational, the interest in our process is going to come from end users that need the other material.
And that's the one. Any chance? Last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You ever get concerned about along the way? You're years away from fully operational pilot plant that somebody else is going to pass you by. Anybody else out there right now that's a potential threat? Another HPQ?
We've done the research. We've looked at it. No, everybody, because it's a big industrial process. Not too many people. Actually, nobody is. It could be some Chinese and people that are trying to catch up. Usually do it in tweaking the other technologies.
You're brand new technology.
We've gone completely brand new. Okay.
It's like trying to tweet dial-up internet access 20 years ago versus going high speed.
Yeah, and that's literally what it is. And just like I'll give an example in a funny way. And I use it in my head because it sort of comes often. Pyro was the guys that invented plasma atomization. Okay. But until 3D printer came along, there was no real market for what was being done. Okay. In the silicone business, because nobody can really do 3N, 4N, 5N because it's too expensive. So it's not very being used. But you put a thin layer of silicone on top of a glass window, almost becomes bulletproof, resistant, and everything else. But you need 3N, 4N for the purity to make through it. So it's too expensive. All these markets are there. Okay? The beauty is, because I have the solar business, which I feel comfortable with developing, other business we're looking at, and these businesses, and those other type of businesses, that can all relate to using my process, which is the PUREVAP process. That's why I feel very comfortable that I'm not all in to one issue. All right. Now, that's a difficult message to pass to investors because it actually requires thinking. I hate to say this, but it's true. And it's the same thing with institutional investors and everything else. But those that get it, get on board. That's why people that put money, like Peter, PyroGenesis, agreed to finance at 12 cents.
And we'll leave it
at that.
And we'll leave it all at that. Bernard, that was awesome. Thanks for taking the time to join us from Europe and where you are. And the reminder for everybody at home, after you watch this, make sure you get onto the HPQ forum on Agoracom. Bernard, no matter where he is, will answer those questions for you, talk to you. You may have more questions from here, but anytime someone like Bernard puts himself this out there on video and then makes it completely accessible online questions, you've got to know the guy feels confident. And Bernard, sounds like you're incredibly confident. And I love that. And today's a great interview, and continued success till we have you right back on here next time.
Thank you.
You've been watching Bernard Tourillon. He's Chairman and CEO at HPQ Silicon Resources. Company trades on the stock symbol HPQ. For more information, get to Agoracom, punch the company's name, stock symbol. If you're discovering for the first time, read the information, read the profiles, watch a couple of the previous interviews because we've had a number of these. I don't even know too many to count with Bernard, and he's moved the ball along. I will say this, and I'll say with Bernard on the screen, we haven't taken steps back yet. That hasn't happened. Where Bernard says this is going to happen, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Oh, we just had a big misstep. We got to go back, and then we got to go. There's no two-step, one-step. I hope I'm not jinxing him by doing that here, but watch some of the previous interviews, and then finally get on the forum. Ask
if we want to be honest, when we started this at the beginning, I was probably over optimistic on the timeline and delays. So we did have, it's not some oopsie back, but some readjustment. But now I've become much more cautious.
Yeah, maybe it took a little longer, but look where you are. While most other resource companies are sitting there with a resource in hand and trying to find a way to get things done at massive capexes, you turned your resource into a gold mine part of the fund. So, trust me, if there's criticism, I'll say it. I got no problem saying it, but so far so good. So for everyone at home, let's see over in Agoracom. You've heard Bernard. He's in Europe, undisclosed location. Won't tell us more, but obviously something's happening. Bernard, looking forward to the next press release.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.